Good morning, true crime friends. How y'all doing? Listen, we are back covering the state of West Virginia versus Natalie Cochran. Yesterday in court. Oh my gosh, there is so much going on. But first, you know what you need to do. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Also, check me out on Facebook and Instagram. I'm trying to do better with my social media things. Okay, so look. Natalie Cochran, down there in West Virginia, is on trial for the alleged, unfortunately, unaliving of her husband, Mike. Let's be clear. I think the heifer did it. Now, I am not on the jury, so I do not have to remain neutral. I can just sit here and be a professional gossip over here in my house in New Jersey, and I can talk trash about folks, and that is not against the law. Thank goodness. Please hold. I already have a dry throat. So, yesterday in court, they brought in like all the experts, right? The medical examiner and the coroner or whatever. It's such an interesting job because I'm like, well, I guess your patients can't complain because they're already dead. So anyway, the medical examiner was like, according to like my records here or whatever, Mike was sedated. He had benzodiazepines in his system. And apparently that's a drug you use to relax. Can you relax like all the way until death, or does it just make you feel like, oh, I'm so calm right now? Like, is it weed in a pill form, child? I do not know. Anyway, according to the medical examiner, based on like the levels of the whatever, clearly I am not a medical professional. But based on the levels of like whatever was in his body, it's possible that Natalie gave him a couple of shots of insulin. Girl, wait. You gave him one shot and then he like fell all the way out or whatever. And then you're like, okay, that's good. He's looking close to death, but maybe not. Let's just give you another little booster. A booster insulin shot? I'm like, because apparently insulin only lasts like 4 to 5 hours. And she left him laying on her couch asleep, unconscious, for more than that. So maybe she's like, I wonder if his brain is fully cooked. With all due respect, I don't want to like, I want to be respectful to the decedent, but also I do not want to be respectful to that whole trash bag who is Natalie Cochran. Listen, she's already in prison for the Ponzi scheme where she cheated her in-laws, all of her relatives, her friends and family, and her mama and daddy out of their life savings. Now listen, you want to cheat some strangers, you're probably going to go to hell with gasoline draws on, also to jail if the FBI finds out, right? And that's terrible. Your own parents, your parents, not your in-laws, because you might not like your in-laws that well. My in-laws personally are fantastic, but you cheat your siblings and your own parents out of their life set. On the strength of that, I think she did this. Now, do they have all the evidence? I don't know. Again, I'm not a medical examiner. I'm not on the jury. I'm just a lady with a big mouth and a lot of opinions. But so she reportedly, allegedly sedated him and then gave him some insulin. And then when he was not slipping the surly bonds of this earth fast enough, she may have given him another shot, although there's no proof of that or whatever. But I just feel that in my spirit, right? So when the FBI got to the house, they collected, all these bottles of insulin. Now, nobody in that house was diabetic. So you just recreationally keeping insulin. We learned in trial. Excuse me. Oh, my goodness. We learned in court the other day that Natalie was a pharmacist, also a diabetes educator. So she knows all the insulin things. I don't know nothing about insulin, but she knows all the insulin things. And it's like, okay, her next door neighbor had a child who had type 1 diabetes, and she had helped the family, counseled the family. It's like, oh, don't worry. Let me show you how to give somebody the shots and do all the diabetes things or whatever. And because she was down at the pharmacy periodically and from time to time, she would pick up insulin from the pharmacy and bring it home to her neighbors. Oh, I wish I had that kind of delivery service. Only I would not appreciate if my neighbor used my medications to unfortunately unalive their spouse. But there's really like a really low chance of that happening to me because none of my neighbors are pharmacists. Wait, are any of my neighbors pharmacists? No, none of my neighbors are pharmacists because I be in their business. I know what everybody does for a living. So anyway, that's an aside. Being a gossip, my gossiping is not limited to true crime. I'm always like searching out true crime. If somebody does something shifty, child, I am all over it. I am a one-woman neighborhood watch. I'm a 2-person neighborhood watch because the lady across the street, quiet as it's kept. Yo, You think I'm nosy. Anyway, so, hey girl, if you're watching this, I don't think she is. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, so she was picking up the insulin from the pharmacy at work and bringing it home and giving it to her neighbor. Now, according to the neighbor was like, every time she picked it up, she gave it to us. There was no reason for her not to. Plus, my sick child needed this insulin. So if she was picking up the insulin at work and then giving it to her neighbor, why would she then still have insulin in her house? Was the neighbor missing any insulin? Did she go over and borrow a cup of insulin so she could unfortunately unalive her husband? I don't know how insulin comes. Please don't correct me in the comments, because honestly, I do not care. So she might have borrowed some insulin from the neighbors, but also, since nobody in Natalie Cochran's house was diabetic, if she happened to have insulin in her refrigerator, it should have been sealed. None of the medication should have been taken out, right? Because what would she be doing with it? But according to the FBI, there was puncture holes in the top where Natalie may or may not have allegedly used that insulin to unfortunately unalive her husband. Girl, Natalie, listen, you were sort of good at financial crimes. I say sort of because you are sitting in prison for them and you did get caught. So you're not really that good at them. At this sort of like true crime, unfortunately unaliving your husband thing, you did an okay job. I'm going to give you a C+. If we were going to rate and give grades to unfortunate unalivers, I'm going to give her a C+ because this case so far seems fairly weak, but I think circumstantial evidence is going to hang this heifer out to dry. And this is why I say this, right? She was a diabetes educator. She knew what medications to give him that were like, would not be traceable in the body and would disappear or whatever. Also in pharmacy school, do they have a whole section on things you could do to unfortunately unalive people? I'm just asking for myself because I'm curious. Ziggy, do they teach killing people in pharmacy school?
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
See, she refuses to be an accomplice to my crimes. That's an ALEXA device. I just named mine Ziggy. So anyway, so she gave him the medication, allegedly. And he laid in a coma on her couch all day long, waiting for the insulin to like percolate and cook his brain or do whatever insulin does. And so finally the friends and the family was like, girl, why is he just laying here like this? Oh, and she took a bunch of pictures of him. She's trash. And they were like, okay, we're going to take him to the hospital, ignorant heifer. If you're not going to do it, we're going to take him to the hospital. And she's like, I'm a good Christian woman. Remember all them Bible verses I sent you? And the Lord is telling me, don't take him to the hospital. And so his friends like elbowed the heifer out of the way and scooped him up and took him down to the hospital. And the hospital was like, oh, y'all, this is really, really bad. We don't know if he gonna stay on this side of glory. And after like 5 days in the hospital of them trying everything, meanwhile, she's over there taking hospital selfies and pictures of him in the hospital with the tubes and stuff. She's horrible. They put him in hospice and it's like, oh yeah, that's a bad sign. He's going to hospice. And then 5 hours after he got to hospice, he went on off to the Endless Heaven buffet. I'll see you in the key lime section when I get there, Mike. So he slips the surly bonds of this earth. But here's the thing. If you pass away in hospice, it's considered to be natural causes. I wonder if she pushed to have him put in hospice, or if that was just like the hospital said, you know, there's not really anything we could do for him. And so we're going to go ahead and send him over to the hospice. I think she plotted and planned. Now listen, if she was a really skilled, unfortunate unaliver, she would have had him cremated. All true crime fans know you cannot do an autopsy on ashes. So, but she ain't know that. That's why I'm giving her a C and not like a B. Anyway, also, you should not be unfortunately unaliving people. You should not be good at it. If you're good at it, then you're a terrible person. You should strive to get an F. This is where you do not want to be an overachiever. So anyway, 7 months after his death, the FBI was already looking into her for her Ponzi scheme. And so she was just like, I mean, I may have taken my mom and daddy and them's life savings, and maybe you have all that proof of it, but I am just a poor widow woman. And the FBI was like, okay, move over, heifer. Let's go look in your refrigerator. She still had the insulin. Ma'am, you could have just thrown that out. Why would you have kept? I do not understand. Was she a hoarder in other ways? I mean, listen, I'm a waste not, want not kind of girl, so I get it. But you can't. Used insulin 7 months later, still in there with the needle punctures in the top. Girl, you are very, very bad at true crime. Hang on. if you want to get away with crime, and I'm not suggesting that anybody do, you should maybe just like let people suspect and think, because if she goes down for this crime, she's going away forever, ever, as opposed to just like that 11 years or whatever she's doing on her financial crimes. So anyway, 7 months after poor Mike has gone off to the Endless Heaven buffet, the FBI raids her house and they find insulin still sitting in her house. Lord, she's stupid. And so they exhume his body and they're just like, okay, let's look at him or whatever. But it's 7 months later. And if she gave him a shot, like he had been in the hospital, he had been in hospice, there's probably all kinds of needle punctures all over him. Sorry this happened to you, Mike. This is terrible. Anyway. So the guy who did the autopsy was like, yeah, I mean, he was like a pincushion, basically. That's not the technical term that he used, but that's like the spirit of what he said. He was a whole pincushion, so we couldn't tell if any of those were insulin. And then the government or whoever does exhumations was like, okay, put him back. And then a couple months later, they were like, can we just have another look? We would just want to take another look. Y'all not gonna let this man rest in peace? At a certain point, you just put like a zipper on the ground, like, oh, we might have to take you out again. Like one of them Ziploc seals at the top so you could easily pop somebody out and put them back. So disrespectful. Anyway, so when they exhumed him the second time and ran tests or whatever on his organs and stuff, that's when they found the insulin. But so far in court, we've only gotten to the first autopsy. And so far the state, West Virginia, come here. So far y'all case is weak. And I'm worried about you. But listen, I'm keeping the faith because this lady is terrible. Did I mention that she cheated her mama and daddy out of their life savings? She's horrible. So I'm trusting in y'all to really, really bring it home. But I'm being patient. I'm waiting. We're going to wait until we hear all the evidence. Although I personally have already prejudged her, but I know that you have to prove your case, right? So get to proving. Go. You can do it. Okay. Anyway, back to the regular audience. So listen, I just had a little private talk with the state of West Virginia, and I think they're going to get their whole act together. So the guy who exhumed the body said there was no disease in the organs, there was no disease in the tissue. And then that very annoying cross-examination guy, the defense attorney, was like, right, because the organs break down first, right? Even when they're embalmed? I'm not sure how embalming works. Anyway, so he was just like, y'all checked and you didn't find anything right away. Now, I don't know what was proved or what was figured or what they did in the second exhumation. We have not gotten to the second exhumation yet, but we're going to find out. Listen, I'm here, I'm perched, I'm waiting. I want to know every single thing about the state of West Virginia versus Natalie Cochran, our resident unfortunate unaliver and financial thief and whole trash bag. Listen, I put a brand new video this morning over on Facebook. Go over there and check it out. Or on Instagram, we're Gossip, Rumor, and Innuendo in both places. I will see you soon. Bye.